Places like the Grand Canyon, the Sierra Nevada mountains, Yellowstone National Park, every place we'd spent the last 30 years saying, someday, advanced prostate cancer. I'm going to talk about the uncertainty of where we go from here, and then what it feels like to realize that the timeline you've been on now looks very different from the one you originally imagined. 3 years ago, my wife Sue and I were sitting in this very room having our coffee and going over maps. Not road trip maps per se, but retirement maps. Places like the Grand Canyon, the Sierra Nevada mountains, Yellowstone National Park, every place we'd spent the last 30 years saying, someday. Our bucket list destinations. And finally, we were going to have the time and the means to make it happen. We had a 45-foot motorhome picked out. In fact, we knew exactly which one. We had a budget. We had a timeline. We even had an exit strategy. We had a plan. And then I got a phone call. And in the space of about 10 minutes, the plan that we had spent years building looked completely different. My name is Mike Jones, and this is Jonesing for the Journey. And this right here is where our story actually begins. Now, let me tell you a little about who we are and why any of this matters. I've spent the better part of the last 30 plus years in the corporate world, worked hard, built a career, did the responsible thing, the way you do when you got a family that's counting on you. My beautiful wife Sue and I have been married for 30 years. We have raised 2 kids, watched them become adults. We've got grandchildren now, and it still kind of catches me off guard sometimes in the best possible way. And through it all, through all the long hours and all the deadlines and putting things off until later, there was always the idea still in the back of our head, the open road. Full-time RV living, where there's no schedule, no alarm clock, just the two of us, a big motorhome, and this incredible country laid out in front of us. Life on our terms. It wasn't an impulse. We planned it carefully. The way you plan things when you spend a career making decisions that matter. We researched, we saved, we planned for every possible scenario. We were ready. Or at least we thought we were. And then about 4 months ago, everything changed. In early 2026, after some routine testing, I was diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer. Now, I want to say that plainly because I think there's a tendency to soften it, to find gentler language to protect people from the weight of those words. But if you're watching this because something similar has happened to you or maybe someone you love, then you already know. You know that there's no gentle version of that sentence. Advanced prostate cancer. I just recently underwent a radical prostatectomy. It's a surgery to remove the prostate gland. It's a major operation. The recovery is significant, and the road ahead involves monitoring and treatment decisions that I'm still trying to understand and figure out how to navigate. I'm not going to pretend that I took this news stoically. I'm turning 60 years old in a few months, and I have a wife I love. I'm a father. I have grandchildren that I want to watch grow up. And yeah, I have the dream of a motorhome in my driveway with places to go. Let's just say I got stuff to do. So I sat with it. I let it be as heavy as it actually was. And then I made a decision. I decided that whatever this journey looks like now, however different it is from what we had planned, it's still a journey worth living. And if I'm being honest, worth sharing. That decision is why you're watching this right now. When I got the diagnosis, I did what a lot of people do. I went looking. I searched for someone who was living this, not just reporting it clinically or reciting statistics, but actually living it. Someone who could talk honestly about the recovery and what it feels like, what it does to a marriage, what it does to the plans that you've made, what it does to the way you see yourself at 60 something when you thought that your entire best chapter of what was ahead of you was still yet to come. What I did find was a lot of medical information. I found survival rates and treatment protocols, surgical technique explanations, and while all that was great, what I found less of was honesty. So I decided I would provide some. If you're facing a prostate cancer diagnosis, whether it's you sitting in that chair or perhaps someone you love, you're welcome here. If you're a caregiver just trying to figure out how to hold everything together while not falling apart yourself, you are welcome here. If you're a spouse trying to understand what your partner is going through and what you can actually do about it, you are welcome here. And if you simply had a plan for your life, a real plan with something you believed in and something that came along and rewrote it overnight, you are absolutely welcome here. The fact is, you're not in this alone. And honestly, neither am I. I called this channel Jonesing for the Journey. And yes, if you're familiar with that term, you know it means craving something or longing for it. Well, we're still longing for the road. That motorhome is still as real as it ever was to us. The destinations are still mapped and ready. That part of the dream hasn't gone anywhere. It's just waiting and hoping for another opportunity or chance. Well, we're trying to just be a little bit more patient than what we had planned. But the name means something else now too. This journey, the one we didn't plan, the one that started with a phone call and a word I was not ready to hear. This is a journey too. And I'm committed to navigating it in the same way I want to navigate those open roads. And in an odd, even weird sort of way, I'm still jonesing for the journey, even this one. With my eyes wide open, with my wife by my side, and with as much honesty as I can manage on any given day. Now, look, over the coming weeks, I'm going to share things I haven't talked about publicly before, or quite frankly, with anyone. I'm going to talk to you about the phone call that I got just days after New Year's, what it felt like, what went through my mind, what I said to Sue afterward. That video is almost ready, and it's honestly one I wasn't sure I was able to make or had the strength or courage to make. I'm going to walk you through what nobody tells you before a radical prostatectomy. The things your surgical team just doesn't have the time to explain, and the things that you only learn by actually going through it. I'm going to talk to you about what it's done to this marriage, the hard parts, and quite frankly, some of the surprisingly beautiful parts that I didn't expect. I'm going to talk about the uncertainty of where we go from here, and then what it feels like to realize that the timeline you've been on now looks very different from the one you originally imagined. And yes, I'm going to talk about that motorhome, about whether the dream can survive this, about what full-time RV living might look like when life has rewritten the script in the timeline. I'm not going to sugarcoat any of it, but I'm also not going to give up either. And I would like you to come along for the journey with me. If anything I've said here in the last few minutes sounds like your life or maybe someone you love, I hope you'll subscribe. I put out new videos every week, and my promise, my commitment to you is I won't waste your time. Leave a comment below if you're on a similar journey. I read every one, and this channel only works if it becomes a real conversation, and that dialogue starts with you. My name is Mike Jones, and this is Jonesing for the Journey. And so, let the adventure begin.